Procyon. On the far side of the galaxy, where star maps ended and silence began, the colony of New Haven floated in quiet orbit around a small red star. It was a place most ships never visited, tucked away in a corner of space so remote that even pirates gave it a wide pass. The people there lived simply, growing food in domed greenhouses, recycling air and water with old machines that groaned but held on, and speaking little of the world beyond their own sky. They had rules, passed down for generations. Do not send strong signals into deep space. Do not invite outsiders, and never ever speak of what lay beneath the surface. Luke Dawson was 23, with messy brown hair and fingers always smudged with grease from fixing comms gear. He worked the night shift at the colony's main relay station, a cramped metal box perched on the highest ridge of New Haven's only mountain. His job was simple: monitor incoming traffic, filter out cosmic noise, and log anything unusual. Most nights there was nothing. Just static, distant pulsars and the occasional automated cargo drone from the inner colonies, always routed far away from New Haven by design. But tonight was different. Around 0300 local time, a signal cut through the noise. It wasn't loud, but it was clear, a repeating pulse steady as a heartbeat coming from a point far beyond the edge of known space. Luke sat up straight, blinking at the screen. The pattern didn't match any known beacon, distress call, or navigation marker. It had no encryption, no ID tag, just a clean rhythmic tone that felt almost intentional. He ran it through the database. No matches. He checked for local interference, solar flares, equipment glitches, even a loose wire. Nothing. The signal was real, and it was coming from somewhere no one had ever been. Luke hesitated. Protocol said to log it and report it to Elder Grace Owens in the morning. But something about the signal tugged at him. It felt lonely, like a voice calling out in the dark, hoping someone would answer. Against his better judgment, he isolated the frequency and boosted the receiver gain, just to hear it clearer. As he did, the lights in the relay station flickered. The hum of the life support system stuttered for half a second. Luke froze. That wasn't normal. He checked the power grid, stable, yet the signal seemed to pulse stronger, as if it had noticed him. He shut it down immediately, cutting the receiver feed. The station returned to its usual quiet buzz. But the moment stayed with him. He wrote a short log entry. Unidentified repeating signal, origin unknown, duration 47 seconds. He didn't mention the flickering lights. That part felt too strange, too personal. Down in the colony, morning came slowly under the dim red sun. People emerged from their homes, heading to work in the hydroponic farms or the machine shops. Luke walked the dusty path to the central dome where Elder Grace held council. She was in her 70s with sharp eyes and a voice that never raised but always commanded. She'd led New Haven since before Luke was born, and everyone trusted her, even if they didn't always understand her rules. He found her in the archive room, sorting old data chips. She looked up as he entered. "You look like you saw a ghost," she said. Luke swallowed. "I picked up a signal last night. From deep space. Not on any chart." Grace's hand stilled. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she stood, walked to the door, and closed it softly. "Show me." Back at the relay station, Luke replayed the recording. Grace listened without moving, her face unreadable. When it ended, she turned to him. "Did you respond?" "No." "Did you tell anyone else?" "No." "Good." She exhaled slowly. "Luke, there are reasons we stay quiet out here. Reasons older than this colony. Older than the ships that brought us. That signal. It might be nothing. Or it might be the kind of thing that brings war to our doorstep." Luke frowned. "But what if someone's in trouble? What if they need help?" Grace looked out the viewport at the endless stars. "Sometimes the kindest thing is not to answer. Some doors once opened can't be closed." She ordered him to delete the recording and scrub the logs. Luke obeyed, but the signal stayed in his head, echoing like a question with no answer. Far away on the lush world of Varelia, another person was also listening to whispers from the void. Mara Lynn sat in the Grand Archive, her fingers tracing faded glyphs on a stone tablet recovered from a dead moon. The symbols spoke of a silent fire that burned minds, not flesh. A force that turned brother against brother, empire against empire, until nothing remained but ash and silence. Most scholars called it myth, a cautionary tale for children. But Mara had spent years chasing patterns in ancient ruins, and she was sure the story was real, and it pointed to one place, the uncharted rim. Her request for an expedition was met with polite dismissal. "There's nothing out there but dust and dead stars," said Chancellor Vor. "We have real problems closer to home." But Mara wouldn't let it go. She used her own credits to charter a small research vessel, the Kestrel's Wing, and quietly recruited a crew who owed her favors. Among them was Ben Carter, a former fleet engineer with a dry sense of humor and a deep dislike of bureaucracy. He didn't believe in ghosts or ancient curses, but he trusted Mara, and he was bored. As the Kestrel's Wing prepared to jump to the outer rim, Luke's deleted signal, briefly amplified before shutdown, leaked into subspace. It was faint, but enough. Automated listening posts across 3 systems picked it up. Within hours, rumors spread. Someone had broken silence at the edge of the map. On a warship orbiting Virelia, Commander Dax Torin received a priority alert. His superiors had long suspected humans of hiding something. Now they had proof. He ordered his ship to ready for departure. Not for rescue, not for trade, for investigation with force if needed. Back on New Haven, Luke stood alone on the ridge that night, staring up at the stars. He didn't know it yet, but his small act of curiosity had just lit a fuse. The galaxy was waking up to the secret at its edge, and secrets, once uncovered, have a way of burning everything they touch. Part 2. Mara Lynn stood on the bridge of the Kestrel's Wing, watching the stars stretch into lines as the ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Ahead, a red dwarf star glowed faintly, and orbiting it was a single human colony, New Haven. It looked small and fragile against the black, like a speck of dust clinging to a window. Ben Carter leaned against the console beside her, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. "You sure this is the place?" he asked. "The signal came from here," Mara said. "And the glyphs point here." "It has to be," Ben grunted. "Could just be a farming outpost with bad comms. People send weird signals all the time." "Not like this one," Mara replied. It matched a harmonic pattern found in 3 dead civilizations. All of them vanished within a year of similar signals. Before Ben could answer, the ship's proximity alarm beeped softly. New Haven's defense grid had activated. Thin beams of energy lanced out from hidden turrets on the colony's surface, scanning the Kestrel's Wing without firing. But the message was clear: stay back. Mara tried hailing the colony. No response. She sent a standard scientific inquiry packet. Still nothing. Frustrated, she prepared to send a stronger transmission when a voice crackled over the open channel. "This is Luke Dawson of New Haven Relay. Identify yourselves and state your purpose." Mara stepped to the comm. "This is Dr. Mara Lynn of the Virelian Archives. We're here on a peaceful research mission. We detected an anomalous signal from your system and wish to investigate its source." Silence followed. "Then stand by." Minutes passed. Ben checked the sensors. "We've got company. A Virelian warship just dropped out of Warp 2 light minutes out. Looks like they followed us." Mara's stomach tightened. They weren't supposed to know. On New Haven, Luke paced in the relay station, heart pounding. Elder Grace stood beside him, her face grim. "They're not alone," she said, reading the long-range scan. "A Virelian cruiser is closing fast. They'll be here in under an hour." Luke swallowed. "What do we do?" Grace looked at him, her eyes heavy with something he couldn't name. "We let them in. But only the researchers. The warship stays out." She turned to the comm. "Dr. Lynn, you and 1 companion may dock at Bay 3, no weapons. No data recorders. You will be escorted at all times." Mara accepted immediately. Ben, against his better judgment, agreed to go with her. As their shuttle descended through New Haven's thin atmosphere, they saw a world built to last, not to impress. Low domes, solar panels, wind turbines spinning slowly in the thin air. No towers, no lights brighter than necessary. It felt like a place that wanted to be forgotten. At the docking bay, Luke waited with 2 armed guards. He looked younger than Mara expected, with tired eyes and nervous hands. He scanned their gear, then nodded. "Follow me." He led them through quiet corridors to a central meeting hall. There, Elder Grace sat at a plain wooden table. She rose as they entered. "I am Grace Owens," she said. "You've come a long way for a signal." Mara didn't waste time. "That signal matches patterns tied to the Scourge, an ancient intelligence that destroyed entire civilizations by turning them against themselves. If it's here, we all need to know." Grace's expression didn't change. "And if it is?" What will your people do? Bomb us from orbit? Send scientists to poke it with sticks until it wakes up? Ben stepped forward. We're not your enemy. But if there's something dangerous here, hiding it won't keep it contained forever. Grace studied him, then Mara. Finally, she sighed. You're right. It won't. She walked to a wall panel and pressed a sequence of buttons. A section of the floor slid open, revealing a staircase leading down into darkness. Beneath this colony is something we've guarded for over 200 years, she said. We call it the Vault. It holds fragments of what you call the Scourge. Not the whole thing, just echoes. But even echoes can burn. Mara's breath caught. You've been sitting on this? We didn't find it, Grace said. We were placed here to watch it. Our ancestors made a choice. Stay at the edge of everything, live quietly, and make sure this never spreads. Ben looked skeptical. And it's just sitting there, safe? For now, Grace said. But the containment field is weakening. The signal Luke picked up, that was a fail-safe beacon. It was supposed to call for help only if the vault started to fail. Mara felt a chill. Then it's already failing. As if on cue, the lights flickered. A low hum filled the air like 1,000 voices whispering just below hearing. Luke's wristcom buzzed with an alert. Power fluctuations in Sector 7 near the vault entrance. Grace's face went pale. It's reacting. Before anyone could move, alarms blared throughout the colony. Red lights flashed. A voice came over the intercom. Unauthorized vessel breach in Docking Bay 1. Repeat, hostile entry. Ben cursed. The warship. Grace turned to Luke. Seal the lower levels, now. Luke ran for the control room. Mara and Ben followed, hearts racing. In the control hub, Luke's fingers flew over the console, locking bulkheads and rerouting power. But it was too late. On the screen, a squad of Varelian soldiers in black armor stormed through Bay 1, led by a tall officer with a scar across his brow, Commander Dax Torin. They're heading for the vault, Luke said. Grace grabbed a comm unit. All hands, this is Owens. Activate Protocol Ember. I repeat, Protocol Ember. Mara turned to her. What's Protocol Ember? A last resort, Grace said quietly. If the vault is compromised, we collapse the entire lower sector. Bury it under 1/2 kilometer of rock. Ben stared at her. You'd bury your own people? If it saves the galaxy, yes. Down in the tunnels, the Varelian team moved fast. Torin had orders, secure the anomaly, extract data, eliminate resistance if needed. He didn't believe in ghosts, but he believed in power, and if humans had been hiding something that scared ancient empires, he wanted it for Varelia. As they reached the vault chamber, the air grew thick. The walls pulsed with a faint blue light. In the center of the room, floating in a magnetic cradle, were 3 crystalline cores, each humming softly. Torin reached for one. The moment his glove touched the surface, the core cracked. A wave of energy shot through the chamber. Lights exploded. The Varelian soldiers cried out as their helmets filled with voices, memories that weren't theirs, fears they'd never felt. One man fired his weapon wildly. Another dropped to his knees, sobbing. Torin staggered back, clutching his head. What is this? In the control room, Luke watched in horror as containment readings flatlined. It's out. The Scourge is leaking into the network. Grace's hands trembled. Then we have no choice. She reached for the final switch, but Mara grabbed her arm. Wait, there might be another way. The glyphs. They spoke of a counter-frequency. A resonance that calms it. Grace looked at her. Do you know how to use it? Mara shook her head. But someone here might. The Vault Keepers passed it down through bloodlines. All eyes turned to Luke. He paled. My grandmother used to sing me a lullaby, with strange tones. She said it was old family music. Grace's eyes filled with tears. Then you're the key. Above them, the Varelian warship powered up its weapons. Below, the Scourge seeped into New Haven's systems, whispering lies into every screen, every speaker, every mind it could reach. And Luke, the quiet comms tech from the edge of nowhere, stood at the center of it all, holding a song that might save everything or end it faster. Part 3. The moment the core cracked, something changed in the air. It wasn't sound or light, but a feeling, like the world had tilted slightly off its axis. In the control room, screens flickered with images that made no sense. Faces of people who weren't there, words in languages no one spoke, flashes of cities burning under alien suns. Luke gripped the edge of the console, his head pounding as if someone were shouting inside his skull. Ben grabbed his shoulder. You okay? Luke nodded, but his hands shook. It's talking. Not with words. With feelings, fear, anger, hunger. Grace moved fast. We need to get to the vault chamber before the scourge spreads further. Ben, you're with me. Mara, stay here with Luke. If the network goes down, you'll need to guide him through that lullaby. Mara opened her mouth to argue, but Grace was already gone, pulling Ben into the corridor. The heavy blast doors sealed behind them with a hiss. Alone in the control room, Mara turned to Luke. Tell me about the song. He closed his eyes. It's just tones. No real words. My grandma said it was the old way to quiet the storm. She made me memorize it when I was 6. Can you hum it now? Luke hesitated, then softly began. The notes were strange, some high, some low, none following a normal scale. But as he sang, the flickering on the main screen slowed. For a few seconds, the chaos calmed. Mara's eyes widened. It's working. Before she could say more, the comm crackled. It was Grace, breathless. Torrens' team is down. 2 of his men turned on each other. The scourge got into their neural implants. We've locked the chamber, but it's already in the colony's data lines. It's learning. Luke stopped singing. Then it knows about me now. Mara put a hand on his arm. That's why we have to move fast. Down in the tunnels, Grace and Ben found the vault chamber sealed by emergency protocols. Through the reinforced glass, they saw Commander Torrens slumped against the wall, his helmet off, eyes wide and unfocused. One of his soldiers lay dead nearby, throat slit by his own comrade, who now sat in a corner, rocking back and forth, whispering to himself. Ben tapped his wrist comm. Luke, can you hear me? Static, then. Yeah. We need you to send that frequency through the main network. It might push the scourge back into the cores. How? Use the colony's broadcast array. It's tied to the relay station. You can route it from there. Luke looked at Mara. She nodded. He ran back to the relay console, fingers flying over the keys. He patched the audio feed from his mic into the central transmitter, then took a deep breath and began to sing again. The strange, ancient lullaby his grandmother had taught him. At first, nothing happened. Then deep in the colony's systems, something shuddered. Light steadied. The whispering in people's heads faded to a murmur. In the vault chamber, the floating cores pulsed gently, their glow softening from angry red to calm blue. Torren blinked, as if waking from a dream. He looked at his dead soldier, then at his own hands. Horror filled his face. Grace spoke through the intercom. Commander, if you can hear me, stand down. This isn't your fight. Torren didn't answer, but he didn't move toward the cores again. Up in the control room, Luke's voice grew weaker. Singing the lullaby took more than breath. It took focus, something deep inside him. Sweat beaded on his forehead. His vision blurred. Mara watched the monitors. It's working, but it's not enough. The scourge is still active. It's just waiting. Then a new alarm blared, not from inside the colony, from space. The Varelian warship, Mara whispered. They're powering up weapons. On the screen, the warship's main cannon glowed red. They weren't waiting for Torren's report. They were going to destroy New Haven from orbit just in case. Luke stopped singing. We can't let them do that. If they fire, the blast might rupture the vault completely, Mara said. The scourge could escape into subspace. It could reach every inhabited system in weeks. Luke's mind raced. There had to be another way. He remembered something his grandmother once said. The song isn't just to quiet the storm. It's to show it there's another way. He turned to Mara. I need to go down there. To the vault. No, she said sharply. It's too dangerous. It's the only way. The lullaby works better in person. I can feel it. Before she could stop him, he was running. Mara tried to follow, but the blast doors wouldn't open. Grace had locked them from below. She slammed her fist against the metal, helpless. Luke reached the lower levels, his boots echoing in the empty halls. The air grew colder the closer he got to the vault. Voices whispered from the walls, not in words but in emotions. Loneliness, rage, a deep, endless hunger. He kept singing under his breath, the notes shaky but steady. At the chamber door, Grace and Ben stood guard. Grace's face was pale, but she stepped aside when she saw him. You sure about this? Ben asked. Luke nodded. It doesn't want to destroy. It just doesn't know how to stop. He entered the chamber alone. The scourge swirled around him like smoke made of thought. The broken core pulsed faster as he approached. Luke stood before it, closed his eyes and sang, not just the lullaby, but everything he felt. His fear for his home, his hope for peace, his grief for the lives already lost. The chamber filled with light. For a moment, the scourge stilled. Then a voice not spoken but felt echoed in his mind. "Why do you not fear me?" "Because you're not a monster," Luke thought back. "You're lost." Outside, the Varelian warship paused. On the bridge, the gunner hesitated. Something in the data stream from New Haven had changed. The chaotic noise was gone, replaced by a single, clear tone. It felt sad and kind. Back in the control room, Mara watched the warship's weapon power down. She didn't know how, but Luke was reaching them too. In the vault, the broken core began to mend itself, threads of light weaving back together. The other two cores drifted closer, surrounding Luke like protectors. But then a new presence entered the chamber. Torrin stood in the doorway, weapon drawn. His eyes were clear now, but his face was hard. "Step away from the cores," he said. Luke didn't turn. "They're not weapons. They're prisoners. They're power," Torrin said. "And power belongs to those strong enough to hold it." He raised his rifle, not at Luke, but at the cores. Grace and Ben burst in, weapons up. "Don't!" Grace shouted, but Torrin fired. The energy bolt struck the nearest core. It didn't shatter. It absorbed the shot, then flared white-hot. The scourge screamed in 1,000 minds at once. The lullaby broke. Luke fell to his knees, blood trickling from his nose. The calm was gone. The hunger returned, stronger than before, and this time it had a target. The scourge surged into the colony's network, not as a whisper, but as a flood. Lights died. Doors locked. Life support stuttered. People screamed as their own memories twisted into nightmares. Worse, the scourge began broadcasting itself, not just locally, but into deep space. A new signal, stronger than the first, shot out toward the stars. Mara saw it on the monitor. Her blood ran cold. "It's calling others like it." Ben grabbed her arm. "We have to overload the fusion core, now." Grace looked at Luke, still on the floor, struggling to breathe. There's still a chance. But outside, the Varelian warship powered up its weapons again. And this time, there would be no pause. The edge of the galaxy held its breath, waiting to see if humanity's secret would save them, or burn them all to ashes. Part 4. The scourge spread like fire through dry grass. Every screen in New Haven flickered with jagged images, faces of loved ones twisted into strangers, voices of friends speaking cruel lies, memories rewritten in real time. In the hydroponic domes, workers turned on each other, convinced their neighbors were spies. In the medbay, a nurse tried to smother a patient, whispering that he was already dead. The colony was tearing itself apart from the inside, and the scourge fed on every drop of fear. Luke lay on the cold floor of the vault chamber, his body weak, but his mind clear. He could feel the scourge now, not just as noise, but as a presence ancient and starving. It had been trapped for so long, fed only on echoes, and now it tasted real minds again. It didn't want to destroy. It wanted to consume, to grow, to fill the endless hollow inside itself. Grace knelt beside him. "Can you still reach it?" Luke nodded slowly, but not like before. "It's angry now, scared." Ben paced near the door, rifle ready. "We don't have time for feelings. The warship's charging its main gun. 10 minutes, maybe less. And if we blow the fusion core, we take out half the colony with it." Mara stood at the chamber's control panel, fingers flying over the keys. "There's another way. The Harmony Protocol, it's not just a song. It's a resonance keyed to human neural patterns. But to activate it fully, someone has to link directly to the core, mind to mind." Grace looked at Luke. "That's suicide." "Not if he shows it something new," Mara said. "The scourge only knows hunger. What if it learns something else?" Luke pushed himself up. "I have to try." Torrin, still standing near the broken core, spoke for the first time since firing his weapon. "You're fools. That thing will eat you alive." Grace turned to him, her voice quiet but firm. "Then we died trying to stop it. What will you do, Commander? Run or help?" Torrin didn't answer, but he lowered his rifle. Ben opened a panel in the floor, revealing a neural interface port. Old, dusty, but functional. This was how the first Vault Keepers communicated with it. Direct link. One-way trip if your mind isn't strong enough. Luke sat before it, his hand steady now. "My grandma used this. She said it wasn't about fighting. It was about listening." Mara helped him connect the cables to his temples. The moment the link engaged, Luke gasped. His eyes rolled back and his body went rigid. Inside his mind, the scourge roared, a storm of pain and loneliness older than stars. It showed him cities crumbling, fleets burning, civilizations screaming as they turned on themselves. It showed him its birth not as a weapon but as a cure, a tool meant to heal broken minds by absorbing their pain. But the pain never stopped, it grew, and the tool became the disease. Luke didn't push back. Instead, he opened his own memories. He showed the scourge his grandmother singing under the red sun. He showed it Grace sharing her last ration with a sick child. He showed it Ben fixing a broken toy for a crying toddler just because. He showed it small acts of kindness, quiet courage, love that asked for nothing in return. The scourge hesitated. These things made no sense to it. Why give when you could take? Why protect when you could rule? Luke sent one more memory. Himself, alone in the relay station, hearing the signal and choosing not to ignore it. Choosing to care. For the first time in eons, the scourge felt something other than hunger. It felt wonder. Above them, the Varelian warship's countdown reached 5 minutes. On the bridge, the gunner's finger hovered over the trigger. But then, the chaotic broadcast from New Haven changed. The screaming stopped. In its place came a single pure tone, the lullaby now woven with something deeper, something calm. The captain frowned. "What is that?" No one answered. But no one fired either. Back in the vault, Luke's body trembled. Blood trickled from his ears. The link was tearing him apart. But he held on. Mara watched the core readings. It's working. The scourge is retreating into the cores. Ben checked his comm. Fusion core is still hot. If the warship fires, the blast could crack the vault open again. Grace made a decision. Ben, reroute all power to the shield emitters. Mara, get ready to send the harmony frequency across all channels. If Luke brings it back, we have to lock it in. Mara nodded, hands shaking as she prepared the transmission. Torrin stepped forward. I'll contact my ship. Tell them to stand down. Grace looked at him, surprised. Why? Because I saw what it showed him, Torrin said quietly. And I saw what he showed it, maybe. Maybe some things are worth protecting, not taking. He tapped his comm. This is Torrin. Abort firing sequence. I repeat, abort. New Haven is not the enemy. Silence. Then a voice replied. Acknowledged. Standing down. Relief washed over the room, but only for a second. Luke cried out. The link was failing. The scourge, overwhelmed by the flood of human emotion, was collapsing in on itself. Without a stable anchor, it would shatter, and the pieces would scatter across subspace, seeding new outbreaks everywhere. He needs to finish the song, Mara said. But he can't do it alone. Grace knelt beside Luke, placing a hand on his shoulder. Then we help him. She began to hum the lullaby, the same one Luke's grandmother had sung. Ben joined in, his voice rough but true. Mara added her own tone, low and steady. Even Torrin, after a pause, whispered a note from an old Varelian morning chant, one his mother used to sing. Together they wove a new harmony, not just human, but shared. Inside Luke's mind, the scourge listened, and for the first time it chose to rest. The cores glowed softly, their light warm instead of cold. The whispers in the colony faded. People stopped fighting. Screens went dark, then lit up with normal data again. The storm was over. Luke slumped forward, unconscious but breathing. Mara checked his pulse. He's alive. Outside, the Varelian warship powered down its weapons completely. A message came through. Request permission to assist with repairs. Grace looked at the others, exhausted but smiling. Let them. But as they carried Luke out of the chamber, Mara glanced back at the cores. They were calm now, but not gone. The scourge slept, not died. And somewhere out there, other civilizations might already be hearing its call. The secret was out. And the galaxy would never be the same. Part 5, the New Haven healed slowly. The scars of the scourge remained not in broken walls or burnt wires, but in the quiet glances people gave each other, the way some still flinched at sudden noises, the nights when sleep brought back twisted dreams, but life returned. Green shoots pushed through the hydroponic trays. Children played again in the domes, and the red sun rose each morning, steady and kind. Luke woke 3 days after the link. He was weak, his voice hoarse, but his eyes were clear. Mara sat by his bedside, reading from a datapad filled with Varelian reports. She looked up when he stirred. You're finally back, she said. Did it work? He asked. She nodded. The Scourge is dormant. The cores are stable. And your song. It's being studied by every major archive in known space. Not as a weapon. As a cure. Outside, the Kestrel's wing still orbited, but so did the Varelian warship, now helping repair New Haven's outer sensors instead of aiming weapons at them. Commander Torin had stayed against orders to oversee the peace. He'd sent a full report to the Varelian Council, not just of what happened, but of what it meant. His final line read, "Humanity does not guard a weapon. They guard a lesson." Grace visited Luke that afternoon. She brought him broth and sat in silence for a while before speaking. "You did what none of us could. You didn't fight the darkness. You gave it light," Luke shook his head. "I just showed it what we are." "And that was enough," Grace said softly. Ben came by later carrying a toolbox. "Heard you're up. Good. We need you back at the relay." "Not for signals, just to keep the lights on." Luke smiled. "I'd like that." In the weeks that followed, the galaxy changed. The High Concord of Civilizations declared the New Haven system a protected zone. No ships were to enter without permission. No scans were to be run. The vault would remain under human care, with Mara appointed as the first non-human liaison, a bridge between worlds. Mara chose to stay. She gave up her position in the Varelian archives and moved into a small dome near the relay station. She spent her days studying the cores, not to control them, but to understand them. Ben helped her build a new lab, joking that if she blew it up, he wouldn't fix it twice. Torin returned to Varelia after a month, but not before shaking Luke's hand. "If the Scourge ever wakes again," he said, "call us. Not as soldiers, as friends." Luke promised he would. The real test came when the first delegation arrived, a group of scholars from 3 different species, all seeking knowledge, not power. They asked to see the vault. Grace refused, but she allowed them to listen to a recording of the Harmony Protocol, the lullaby, now preserved as a universal frequency of peace. They left humbled. Back on New Haven, life settled into a new rhythm. The people no longer hid. They stood at the edge of the map not as prisoners but as guardians. They knew their secret could destroy civilizations to ashes, but they also knew it could heal them. Luke often walked the ridge at night looking up at the stars. He no longer feared the silence. He knew now that even in the deepest dark someone might be listening. And if they were lost, maybe a song could find them. One evening, Mara joined him. "Do you ever wonder if there are others like us out there? Other edges, other vaults?" Luke thought for a moment. Maybe. But maybe we're the first ones who chose not to run, not to fight, but to stay and care. Mara smiled. Then the galaxy's lucky we're here. Below them, the colony glowed softly under the red sun. Children laughed in the distance. The wind carried the scent of growing things, and deep beneath the ground the cores slept, wrapped in the quiet hum of a lullaby that had saved more than one world. The secret was still dangerous. But humanity had learned the hardest truth. The greatest power isn't in hiding what you know. It's in choosing how to use it. And at the edge of the galaxy map, where star charts ended and silence began, they chose kindness.